Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, my name is Mike Piroworski. I come to you live from the East Coast, the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown, 2A News, Conservative Views. It's great to be with you, Craig. It's great to be with you on this Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday, Mike. We have got to, and I say this every Thursday, and I keep thinking, we got to come up with a theme song for Thirsty Thursday because it just seems like too good of a day to not have a theme song.
I'm trying. Get the old brain juices flowing here. I don't know, maybe we drink something, and have a toast. I don't know. I have no idea. Oh, you know what, Craig? Do you recall? I guess it had been last month, right? Where we talked about Friday. It was Friday the 13th, and we talked about the movie Saturday the 14th.
Yes,
from the 80s.
Right.
Yeah, I went and watched it about a week ago. First, it's an hour and 15 minutes, so I don't feel like I necessarily lost a huge portion of my life, but I can't believe I ever watched that movie in the first place, let alone the second time. It was absolutely horrible. Don't go back. If you haven't seen it yet, folks, don't go back and watch it.
Yes. It's funny. I keep thinking, I just popped into my head. I keep thinking of that bar scene in The Replacements where everybody's like, ole, 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 ole. Okay, we're going to have to see if we can work something up. But
and do you remember what he says? How that scene ends?
I know it's something funny, but I forget what it is.
Well, first off, it's not the Mick. He's bloody Welsh, and he goes. They go, ole, ole, ole. And he goes, cheers, bitch.
Okay, well, maybe not there at the end. Cheers, just do the cheers. Wow, okay. Well, we'll figure that one out. Anyway, but folks, thanks for tuning in. However you're watching us, please make sure you encourage your friends to watch as well, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, OpsLens, Spotify, or if you're or Rumble. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, if you're listening to us on Google Podcast or Spotify, however you're watching or listening, or however you're tuning in, please make sure you encourage your friends to do the same. There is nobody who is talking about the news and gun rights with the level of humor and insight that you'll find here at The Rundown.
All your friends are doing it. You need to do it too.
Right. We call it infotainment.
There we go. Just like that. New words.
Right.
We got new words, folks. Check them out.
Check them out. Kind of like Benifer.
Kind of like conversate.
All right. Yeah, we're not going to get into an English lesson here today.
Well, we know I'd win, so what's the purpose?
On that note, let's move on. Let's go ahead and get into our topics today. So we all know that when it comes to the shooting that took place there in Uvalde, Texas, a whole ton of information has come out regarding to in terms of what happened and how it wound up happening. We now know that the door was left open, or either left open or left unlocked. We now know that that the individual was not engaged by an armed campus security. And when asked about the idea of debating or talking about how we address situations like this, one of the things that Republicans have said, and I'm very, very frustrated that we do have Republicans in leadership who are open to the idea of more gun control. We do have some who are open to that idea. But the one thing they said they wanted to talk about resources for hardening schools, which meant both armed staff as well as facilities, improving monies for facilities to make them more secure. And this was the response from the Biden administration.
I don't know what he said specifically about schools. I know there's been conversation about hardening schools. That is not something that he believes in. He believes that we should be able to give teachers the resources to be able to do the job that they're meant to do at schools. And this is something that he's been focusing on since he was a vice president. So those are two things that he does not agree on. But look, he thinks there's a way.
So, in other words, Mike, the president of the United States does not believe in protecting children in school.
This guy's an idiot. I mean, I don't know how to get around it. You know that this statement he made, Greg, has nothing to do with anything but his dementia. He can't wrap his brain around the topic anymore. He's stuck on, oh, got to get rid of guns, got to get rid of guns. He honestly believes at this point in his diminished mental capacity that if he gets rid of all guns, there'll be no gun crime. Because at that point, Greg, we'll all just sit around holding hands singing Kumbaya because there'll be no guns. So we'll hold hands. Nobody will get in a fist fight ever. It's never going to happen. He's a moron. It's all there is to it. Craig, if we could accomplish his plan for firearms that way, then we should be taking out the fire hoses and fire extinguishers from school. Also, we should get rid of those completely. We should get rid of those fireproof walls. We should get rid of everything because we don't need them. All we'll do is teach kids about fire safety.
Well, and the thing is there will always be bad people, right? And if
Right.
it's not with a gun, it will be with a knife. If it's
Yep.
not with a knife, it'll be with a car trying to drive into a school campus and run kids down in
Right.
in a parking lot. The point here is that it's no one solution, right?
Correct.
And it's frustrating that they always make it about the guns. I mean, you've seen the memes. When 9/11 happened, we didn't ban planes. We locked down. We locked down we locked down airports and we locked down the cockpit of the plane. Right.
Right.
It is absolutely positively idiotic to blame a tool, and that's really all it is. Is that the firearm is a tool? What we need to be addressing is two things. Number one, how do we help people from not getting into the mental space where they believe that this is an appropriate thing to do? And once again, you can't do that for everybody, right?
Right.
You can't. You're not going to be able to change it. You're not going to be able to stop everybody. You're not going to be able to change that for everybody. The other thing you have to do is how do we make sure that our most precious things, the things we value the most, are protected from those individuals that do decide they want to do this, and that's our children. Right. And understanding that no matter how much you harden a school, you're still going to, all you're doing is reducing risk, right? You're not eliminating risk, but you're reducing risk. And by doing multiple different things, you reduce risk. And that's what we're talking about trying to do here. And if you're not going to secure the schools, I'm like this, if more guns and more security don't help, well, then guess what? We need to get rid of Capitol Security. We need to get rid of the Secret Service because guess what? They do not help.
You, sir, are exactly correct. It's unfathomable to believe that this is what actually sticking. It's actually coming out of the White House. You know, it's not realistic anymore, Craig. And I know we're trying to have a serious discussion about it, but I can't take what he says seriously. There's no way that came from a well framed thought, process, and came out of his mouth. That was. You're literally getting, the 5-year-old, tapioca pudding response. We're not getting anything real anymore. And that's the scary part is that the rest of the Dems are sitting around going, oh my God, it's so insightful. Let's do that. And then the next day he doesn't even remember where he was.
Well, and I got to believe that reasonable, rational minded Democrats, believe it or not, they do exist. Most of them are not in office. Most of them aren't in office. But they're sitting around wondering, they're like, what do you mean we shouldn't do more to secure schools? I did a show yesterday with it was with a woman who ran a nonprofit that was all about victims of gun violence, children who are victims of gun violence. And I think the host thought she was going to be like anti-gun or anything like that. And I don't know that she was necessarily pro-gun, but her main issue was, look, we need security at our schools. We need police officers, people trained with guns on campus. She's like, we need to be locking up people who've demonstrated that they would be violent. They need to be locked up. They need to go to jail. And when this is someone who is not on our side politically on most things, is saying those things, then you would think that the other side, someone who's normally on their side, you would think they would listen.
Well, Craig, there's one of two reasons why she has that opinion. One is she has children in that school. So her thought pattern is skewed. Or two, she's not a Democrat. She just doesn't know it.
Well, she was the mother of a child victim.
Well,
So
there you go.
she's
that's
lived the consequences of Democrat policies.
Correct. So that makes her not a Democrat anymore.
Right.
I'm
See
sorry,
but the hard part is getting them to realize that.
Yeah.
That's the really hard part. It's like, look, these are the people, because the problem is in many of these communities, and like she's in Los Angeles, and as I explained to her, I said the problem is that all you've ever known are these politicians and the media, the people who think like those on the left, and the media feeds you their information and tells you that's the way to think, that's the way to think, that's the way to think. They've been feeding you the blue pill. It's time to take a red pill. Because clearly the blue pill is not working for you. It's a placebo.
The Democrats don't have any solution at all for violence involving firearms.
No, I have one. Shoot them in the face.
Right. But they have none. They have none. You know why they don't have any? Because children don't vote. So we don't need to worry about the children voting. We do need to worry about the parents voting, which is why we get up here and we rattle the cages and we say gun control and a assault weapon ban, and that's enough to get the rest of the narrow-minded people that are not thinking outside the box and what the real problem is. It's going to get them to vote for the Democrats. So it's a cycle they're okay with. We don't really have to do anything. We just have to talk.
Well, Mike, all I have to say, Mike, is I just look at it this way: California, the most gun control state in the country, and yet we had 3 multiple casual events involving firearms in 3 months. I don't know what else there is to do except point that out and say, yeah, gun control doesn't work.
Nope.
Kind of obvious.
No. You just thought?
And, I think it's interesting because I think that the voters are pretty much with us on this. Dave Workman over at the Second Amendment Foundation actually wrote a piece for AmmoLand. And in this, he actually points out that, according to Rasmussen, voters blame mental health more than they blame guns for these mass casualty events.
Shocking.
They definitely do not blame 9mm pistols. Let's be clear. Those lung blower outers ammo.
There you go.
One of the things when you look down here a little bit further, it says Rasmussen's new survey might have some bearing on that meeting. And the debate that will certainly unfold in the days ahead. According to the veteran polling firm, because Rasmussen's been doing this for a while, 40% of likely voters believe mental health is more to blame than mass shooting by young men in America, while 30% blame access to firearms. Now, Mike, so in other words, people recognize, I think, if there's one thing that I think we can all get around is the idea that we need to address the issue of mental health. And what is frustrating is that the left is so hell-bent, and I know many on the left who push the idea of mental health, right? But they're so hell-bent on banning guns that they won't even acknowledge the conversation of the debate surrounding mental health and social emotional health.
First off, Craig, before we jump into this, dialect differences from coast to coast. What's the name of this organization?
The Second Amendment Foundation.
No. The one that does the polling.
Rasmussen.
Okay. Yeah, Rasmussen. Yeah, I think you said it. You said it a little bit differently there. I'm sorry. All right. So I was going to point out you were saying Rasmussen or something like that. I was like,
yeah, I kind of rushed through it. Rasmussen.
It's
yeah,
Rasmussen?
I've heard it pronounced both ways.
Okay. See, I've never heard it pronounced anything other than Rasmussen, and you said Rasmussen. I'm like, that's interesting. So, but I guess
East
that's
Coast, West
California.
Coast.
Again, it's that dry dirt air. It dries up the brain juices.
You mean your water filled air, your dihydrogen monoxide infected air over there?
I could go like this and get a glass of water during the summer, just like that. You know why you keep your teeth clenched together? Love bugs. You don't want them coming in your mouth. You just the water.
Straighten out the oxygen from the water.
That's it. Exactly right. Yeah, this is interesting, right? This is simple to see. Craig, you and I can understand, and you and I can look back and see. This is a mental health issue. We understand that a lot of the times that these shooters, these evil people dwell in mental health. Is there people with absolute pure evil in their heart that I want to kill? Yes, but I would say 90% of them are, the neighbor's dog told me to do it, and that's why they end up doing it, because it's a mental health issue, and we turn our back on the mental health. And I'm sorry, I know this is not politically correct, but when we had facilities to treat the mentally defective, that's what I'm going to say, because if your brain don't work perfectly, it's probably got a defect in it, right? So there was someplace that they were allowed to receive treatment. Then guess what they weren't doing? They weren't wandering down the street mumbling and peeing on themselves looking for a gun. All right, so I think that's a big part of the problem. It's not the acceptable answer, but it should be part of the conversation, right? I mean, that's at least how I think.
Yeah. When I talk about mental health, it's not just people being crazy, because in some cases, once again, we already know that most violence involving firearms has to do with the commission of a crime, gangs, drugs,
Yes.
gang turf, yada yada
Right.
yada.
But
Even a lot of the gang stuff, it used to be
the
that gang violence was largely about going after territory to sell drugs or be involved in crime.
Agreed.
Nowadays, it's he looked at me wrong. He gave me attitude. It's about turf for turf's sake. It's more about now settling a beef that really has nothing to do with their business. And it goes back to, young people or a generation not really having a sense of, okay, how do I deal with conflict? How do I deal with anger? How do I deal with frustration? Especially at a time when you have society telling these very same people, you're a victim and the white man is oppressing you and you have no control over anything. And I watched a video yesterday where I'm watching a young high school girl talk about how she's oppressed because, well, I shouldn't have to go to school and have people talk down to me. I shouldn't feel bad. No, wait, I shouldn't be made to feel bad. I'm like, whoa. First of all, you're a child, all right? If I'm an adult and you are a child, I'm going to speak to you as though you were a child, right?
Yes.
That's not talking down to you. That's talking to you at a level which you to help you understand, because as a child, your brain is not fully formed yet, right?
Yes.
But they don't know how. To them, that's oppression, right? They're not supposed to have a right to not feel bad.
No,
really?
I get that, and I get that. None of that's, what none of that is? Mental health, right?
Right.
It's
exactly.
It has to do with being a parent and raising a child. And like I said, the flip side I was trying to make is, if we're going to talk about mental health, let's talk about the real mental health issues. Let's talk about, because the mass shooters always tend to be the dribble on your face, I had no idea I was doing wrong.
Right. You don't have to be cuckoo en la cabeza, right?
Yes.
But in some cases, it's just not knowing, not having a proper reference for your feelings and appropriate ways in which to respond to those feelings, right? Constructive ways to address those feelings as opposed to destructive ways. And we tend to have a generation or a couple of generations that seem to have too many people who are leaning towards the negative way in which, or deconstructive or destructive ways in which to address those feelings. And that's got to be fixed. Now, here's the thing, Mike, that used to be something that was learned at home and at church. And now, unfortunately, as we have the breakdown of the family, which, by the way, that's not an accident, we're starting to see those things are not being taught.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And it's not an accident. It's
right. But yeah, all of that is a part of, once again, mental health, or as I like to expand it to not just refer to it as mental health, because like I said, whenever we think mental health, we think cuckoo en la cabeza. We think crazy. But it's also social emotional health. And unfortunately, on the left, that means making people never feel bad.
Yes.
But what it really means is helping people to learn how to deal with their feelings in a constructive manner.
Yep, exactly. And listen, for those that don't speak Spanish, Craig Spanish means cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in English. So
There you go. Crazy in the head, right? He
Cuckoo for
wasn't
Cocoa
right
Puffs.
in the head.
He was he's not the light.
He's not right in the head. Braveheart reference. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to,
there we go.
I'm gonna have to bring that one up. But yeah, that's a Braveheart
It's
reference.
my island.
You mean Ireland? It's
It's
mine.
mine.
Okay. So since we know that they're blaming guns, then obviously the members of the House are prepared to move forward. They're prepared to move forward on voting on anti-gun legislation or gun control. Nancy Pelosi has said that the House will move on a quote-unquote assault weapons ban. Now, we all know, number one, there's no such thing as an assault weapon. There are semi-automatic centerfire rifles that appear to be assaulty or have assaulty characteristics, meaning
yummy.
they are big, black, and scary. But we know they don't exist. Now, the good news is Jim Jordan has said he's going to do everything possible to shoot down some of these proposals. And once again, the president of the United States has made it clear he's not open to really discussing solutions. He's only really open to banning guns. And he's made it very clear to the House that he's down for banning guns.
Well, I want to make sure I got this right. Craig said big, black, and salty. Got it.
Big, black, and scary. Big, black, and scary, which basically that's the definition of assaulty.
Oh, okay. I got it. I should pay attention. When do you think this vote's going to come up, Craig? How do you think this is going to go? We know what the House is going to say, right? Because they have to say it. It's their last chance to say it. Because come November, they're going to be saying different things, right? I think we understand. Now we have to continue to work towards that. Don't give up, folks. Don't just take back. Remember, we need to win plus 20% in order to beat the cheat. So, Craig, I mean, do you think when the House does this that it's going to have any significant meaning? We know the Senate already has decided what they're going to do. We know that the House cannot pass something, and that the Senate's going to go, we didn't think about that. Let's do that instead. What do you think there's any purpose for them even spinning their wheels here?
Well, the one advantage is that they're going to get some people on record for voting to ban guns. And I think for Democrats who are in marginal districts, it's going to put them at risk. They don't have a huge majority there in the House. No. So the first thing is this is going to go up before a committee. And so they want to get a voting committee. If it goes to the floor, you're going to get a bunch of Democrats who are going to lay off. And it may have a hard time passing. And once again, these are going to be Democrats who are in marginal districts. And if they don't lay off, if they vote for the ban, then you're going to see them lose a ton of seats. And when they lose those seats, then we'll just reverse it. Now, then it'll go over to the Senate. And once it gets over to the Senate, I don't think you'll see an assault weapons ban get passed, but I do believe that there are a few Republican senators who are open to the idea of some other things like age restrictions. Your senator, Senator Rick Scott, I think is open to the idea of age restrictions at the federal level. I think you're going to look to see passage of legislation that will fund states that put in place red flag laws. And it's funny. I heard a conservative radio talk show host, Hugh Hewitt, the other day talk about how, there's due process in Florida's law. I'm like, did you read it before you actually endorsed it? Because no, it does allow for ex parte hearings. An ex parte hearing is you lose your rights and your guns before you ever get your day in court. That is not due process. But there are Republicans out there who don't understand how these red flag laws work, and some of them call themselves lawyers. It is beyond ignorance, and it's all because they are weak-kneed and they don't really understand what they're talking about.
Yeah. I think this, as it works its way through the House, you see, not a huge amount. I mean, it's not going to fail. All right. It's still going to pass. But like you said, there's going to be numbers of people that say, hold on, I'm in one of them maroon districts here, and I need to keep some of these Republican votes here. So rather than be strong on guns, I just won't vote no on guns, right?
Right.
So that's what they'll do. And like you said, on the flip side, others are like, well, if I do this and I jump on this bandwagon and piss people off, and then I have nothing to back it up with, that's going to lose my vote. So I think you're going to see a lot of abstentions or maybe people that didn't show up for the vote that day.
Right.
I think you're going to get a lot more of that. Again, I don't know if it's not going to be a stupid number. It's not going to be 25%, but it's not going to be a 100% Democrat sweep for this. I believe there's going to be.
Keep in mind, Mike, they only have like a 5-vote majority, so they can't afford to lose too many. And the advantage that Republicans in moderate districts have is if they lay off, the bill doesn't pass. So for them, a non-vote, at least in terms of the outcome, is as good as a no vote.
Yep. No, and again, you're right. It's just, Craig, listen, they try and pass an assault weapon ban every month. Somebody introduces one once a month up there, and it goes nowhere. And it's not seen as realistic, because somebody will pop up and go, "I want an assault weapon ban," and that's it, And
well, and by the way, for those of you out there, and I know there's not many of you watching this show at least who believe in this sort of stuff, but for those of you out there who are like, "Well, that's just politics," no, it's not politics. The fact is that study after study has been done, and it's been determined that the 1994 assault weapons ban did absolutely nothing to reduce crime. It did nothing to reduce violence with firearms. There are claims that it reduced the number of mass shootings, but there's been studies that have said it did, and some that have said it didn't. Yeah. I think it all depends on the data and how you decide you want to look at the data. Otherwise, there is no evidence that it has made any difference whatsoever. So
all lies.
It's an old idea that has been proven to not work.
Yep. Lies.
All right, moving on to our next topic. It's funny. I remember when my son graduated from college, and I remember they had the graduation that he went to. They had the insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara from the state of California, was the graduation speaker, and then they had a trans entertainer, performer, whatever, who was also the speaker. But basically, they had a couple of really left-wing speakers. And it was just really bad. And we've seen in graduation after graduation where they just bring in these left-wing speakers. And whenever you have a conservative who's supposed to speak, you always have the media report on X number of students or about a student who got up and left during that conservative speaking. Well, now we have a case where a Harvard graduate, a master's student there at Harvard, was frustrated with Mr. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General for these United States, was a speaker at a graduation. And she decided that, she wasn't having it. She decided she was going to get up and leave. Her name is Emma Huesner. I'm going to say Huesner. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. She earned a master's in psychology, but she couldn't sit through the Attorney General's speech at Harvard because, well, let's just say the Attorney General is clearly a woketivist and not really interested in, justice and enforcing the law.
Yeah, it's not like he's the Attorney General, Craig. Why would he have to do that? This is a guy who was at one day could have been a Supreme Court justice, and now you actually get to see the extreme liberal wokeness side of this guy. This means he's Attorney General, which means he oversees Department of Justice. He oversees the people that oversee the FBI. This is what you've got coming down out of there. This is kind of like 2 years from now, Craig. The stories come back and they're like, "Oh yeah, the IRS was investigating Republicans again." That's the kind of stuff that's going to come from this guy because he's going to use his wokeness to justify the actions he took against those that opposed him.
Yes. And the worst part is that they spend these times that are supposed to be, you're supposed to be celebrating moving on to the next phase of your life, right? But that's not exactly what they use these as opportunities for. What they do is they use these as opportunities to try and push their left-wing indoctrination. They use it as opportunities to, once again, they use it as opportunities to just, in my opinion, piss people off. And it's highly frustrating. I don't know, maybe their goal is not to piss people off, but that's what they wind up doing. And here I just pulled down the video, what she had to do. So she actually went out and did a Twitter video. Let's go ahead and see what she had to say about this.
All right.
Really? That's all we got?
I want to hear her say it again.
Hold on. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't download the video all the way. Hold on. Let me try that one again. Replace media. Okay, let's try it this time. Nope. Only 2-second video. Didn't work. Oh,
Why is
well.
she wearing? She's wearing a candy necklace though. That looks like.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's just a 2-second video of her walking out. So
Yeah, there you go. It's a little eye roll. It's enough, it's enough to make the point. She's like done with this guy. I'm done with you. I'm done with you. I'm done with you. You're cool. I'm done with you.
Right. You would think though. Okay, she has a master's degree. You would think she would have had. You would think she would have had a little bit more to say.
A little bit more battery power in her camera.
A little bit more battery power in her camera. Well, there you go. I guess she didn't want to waste that battery power on the Biden administration. But exactly I'm glad that she's standing up. Here's the thing. I'm like, when you go to, I don't care what your political position is. When you go to speak at a graduation, you're not just speaking to people who agree with you politically. Yeah, no, something fell down over here. We're all good. We're all good.
Was that you or me? I don't know.
Oh, no, that was me. But you're not just talking to people who agree with you. So why not have a message that speaks to as broad a group of people as possible about their future? And it should be a positive message about going into the world, right? Not an opportunity for you to push your political agenda.
Yeah. Gotcha. No, I'm sorry. We don't call them broads anymore, Craig. So careful.
I did not. Anyway. Moving right along. Okay, so let's move on to our parting shot. All right, so this first one. So
Craig,
you
by the way,
guys know
folks,
that
Craig was very stingy today. So, folks, Craig was very, very stingy today on the parting shots. I gave him some fine quality parting shots to pick from, and he just wouldn't go.
Those of you who've watched the show know that I have to filter Mike because left to his own devices, our show would be rated TVMA.
Are you saying they were not entertaining?
Oh, I'm not saying they weren't entertaining.
Right,
I'm saying they weren't appropriate for the show.
There we go.
Because you guys have seen the ones that have made it on, and the ones that are think about the raciest ones you've seen, they're worse than that. So I'm just saying, like this one. Well, this one's really all about race. So you guys know that. We live in a world where the police are accused of violence against people of color. So entrepreneurs have actually come up with a way in which to help protect and defend people of color from law enforcement. So if you get pulled over, right? If you happen to be a brother or sister and you get pulled over, all you need is this very special window tint. New window tint designed to prevent police brutality. Now,
see, this even stops you from getting pulled over. You just keep the windows up the whole time, and people are like, "Oh, look at those old white folks. Just let them go."
Except the cops are going to look at you and be like, "Put your eyes on the road. Put your eyes on the road." For those of you who are listening,
and they're going to go, "Huh?"
Yeah, describe this one for people who are listening.
It is a window tint on the passenger and driver's side window. So if you looked at the side of the car, it looks like a pair of old white people in the car. So.
Exactly. Smiling at you.
Smiling at you. Would you like a candy?
Right. So there's that one. Now, this next one is of the day, for the day. This next one is, well, it's my favorite. It's my favorite because those of you up in Canada who are about to allow Justin Trudeau to take away your fundamental right to defend yourself, who's about to disarm you. Yep. Yeah, that registry that you guys, there's no problem. You don't need.
It'll be okay.
Fine. Well, now he's about to take your guns.
Yep.
And by the way, I learned another thing about this legislation is not just a handgun ban. It's not just a confiscation of semi-automatic center-fire rifles. It's also a magazine ban. In other words, you're going to have to permanently modify all magazines that hold more than 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Right. That's also in there. I mean, everything, every gun grabber's wish is in this particular piece of legislation. But folks, look. Yeah,
Ooh.
that's the guy.
Ooh.
Hey, Canadians, this is the guy
Ooh.
you want to
Ooh.
leave. This is the guy that you. Hey, Canadians, this is the guy telling you that you can't have handguns anymore. Get your stuff together, guys. Is that Justin Trudeau? That looks like Justin Trudeau, doesn't it?
Dude, take that off the screen. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to see that. Take that off. Is it off?
What? He's got his Tigger costume on and his
Okay.
Spidey undies.
Yeah, it looks like a 4-year-old's Tigger costume with his looks like he's got his Pooh Berries hanging out there.
But that's the guy who wants to take away their firearms.
Yep. That's the guy that the European Union said, "Nah, you can't come in here. No, we're not letting you speak here. Sorry."
All right, now this next one, and all right, so some of you folks, and we do push the envelope sometimes when it comes to dark humor, do we not, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's
We push the
who
envelope.
we
So
are.
this one is both appropriate to recent news, but also helps people to understand the concept of dark comedy. So let's throw this one up here.
Throw it up.
All right, you want to go ahead and read that one, Mike?
It's Chief Wiggums sitting outside the school, sitting on his patrol car with his officers, and it says, "Maybe if we wait out here long enough, he will use all of his ammo on the kids."
Right. Now, obviously, people had some issues with this particular one.
People. Yeah. Oh, that's the first guy says, "I'm sorry, but this is in very poor taste, regardless of whether it's true." And somebody else responds to him, "Dark humor is like repeatedly requesting law enforcement intervention during a school shooting. Not everybody gets it." Psst, burn.
That was a straight burn. It was straight quality.
Yeah.
I am so impressed by that one. Now, it took that guy 6 hours to respond to that one, but
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't matter. He came up with a great burn. I so appreciate it. If there's one thing that social media and the new technology has done, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Twitter, it's really brought out some really entertaining and witty folks. Some not so much.
Yeah. Yep.
You have to wait through a lot of the BS
kind of wacky
to get there, though.
Yeah, some kind of wacky. You better be careful. But
All right,
good
Mike,
stuff.
It's about that
Good stuff.
time to give a shout out to our sponsors.
Let's say hi to USCombatGear.com, our good friends at Guerrilla Defense Guerrilla Machining Grid Defense, and the California Republican Assembly.
Once again, folks, they are located. Their content is located. Their links to their website are located in the description of this video. Please go there, check them out. If you like what you see there, please take a moment and we'll spend some money with them and let them know that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. With that, we're going to call it a day, and we will see you tomorrow on Feedback Friday.
See you then.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Encourage friends to do the same.